Hi, sociologists. This is going to be a short tutorial on some advice, some tips and hints, if you will, on creating your scrapbook assignment. I am going to focus primarily on scrapbook part 1 because for most of you, this is your first time doing this assignment. But keep in mind you want to go to the assignment description part of your syllabus and double check which chapters you're covering and any other important key things in the directions that you need to make sure you do for this scrapbook assignment. So first things first, the point of the scrapbook assignment is for you to start making connections between the terms that are in your textbook and actual items, artifacts, if you will. Material culture is another term you would use, that are out there in the world around us all the time. A lot of us, especially in so-called wealthy nations, have a lot of stuff. Just looking at my desk right now, I've got a roster, I've got a framed picture of my graduation announcement, I've got some pens, some scissors, a stapler, a small sculpture, several books, all kinds of stuff. And rarely do I give any kind of thought to how I could apply these items and give them some type of sociological significance. And that's basically what I'm asking you to do. You are taking your vocabulary terms from your chapters and you're making them come alive, if you will, by using some type of material culture or social artifact that you have and kind of using it almost as an analogy or a physical representation of the deeper meaning behind that term. So first things first, you need to start with some terms. So if you open up your textbooks, you will see that you have what are called vocabulary or terminology boxes. So when I say connect a term to an object, these are the terms I'm talking about. For most of you, Scrapbook Part 1 will cover chapters 1 through 6 or chapters 1 through 7, typically with one entry per chapter. So one entry means you would pick one term and find one object to go with it and then type a paragraph explaining to me the ways this word and the meaning of that word connects to a particular physical object. So you'll do that each time for each one of the assigned chapters until you have a total number of entries that match what's required of you in the assignment. So here's some samples. These were offered up by former students. Notice the scrapbook itself is usually relatively small. When I'm not teaching online and I'm teaching in person, I typically like to collect these. I'll often also have students present them, so it's nice for them to be compact and small. That's good for you. That's good for me. It's good for everybody. So first things first, this student didn't put the specific chapter. That's something I do like to see. It's easier for me. So chapter 1, the term is culture shock. I realize that's backwards for you. But the term is culture shock from chapter 1. And the item that the student chose is chopsticks. So let me give you some different examples here and then I will read them to you. Chapter 3. The term is multiculturalism, and the student used 3 different types of writing utensils that all essentially do the same thing, but look a little bit different, and etc. Agents of socialization, chapter 4, and the student used a CD. I'm going to go ahead and read this entry to you because I think it'll help you understand. So the term is agents of socialization, which are groups, institutions and individuals that provide structured situations in which socialization takes place. These are socializing forces that have the most significant impact in our lives. I decided to use a CD, so this person is directly talking about the item, that's exactly what you want to do, to represent an agent of socialization, which is the media. That is a very prominent agent of socialization. And in this case, I'm specifically referring to music. Many of us have our own song preferences. We take on values that are presented in the music that we listen to, whether we realize it or not. So socialization, learning values and norms through interactions and language, happens to us all the time. We don't necessarily realize it's happening. For example, if a song objectifies women, we begin to view this as normal, and we might even begin to objectify women themselves. Ourselves. Girls might see this in a music video and try to look or act like the woman that's being objectified in order to feel validated because this person is now their idol. By realizing the agents of socialization, we can question the ideologies and try to and the information they're trying to feed us through society. So again, a lot of these are things that you have around you. Toothpicks, a gum wrapper container. You shouldn't have to go out and buy anything. You should be able to use the stuff that you already have. Let me give you another example, quick example here. So for chapter 1, a term that I'm sure many of you are familiar with or becoming familiar with, sociological imagination. The item that the student chose is a pin, the kind that you wear on your clothing or your backpack to kind of indicate your beliefs, your values, your hobbies, your likes, your dislikes. Whoa, sorry about that. So this pin says, know history, know thyself. So that's, for me, makes an automatic connection to the sociological imagination, but I still need you to explain it to me. Don't assume I'm seeing the connection between the term and the connection between the artifact you've chosen. I don't necessarily see what you see, so it's your job to explain it to me. Sociological imagination is a quality of mind that allows us to understand the relationship between our individual circumstances and larger social forces. It also involves knowing how the self and the world interplay, and that one's story is surrounded by history. The social artifact for this term is represented by a small pin that reads, "No history, no self." From first glance, this sums up exactly what the sociological imagination embodies. You have to know history in order to better know yourself. You must be knowledgeable about the past and the social implications in order to understand personal values and actions, as well as the social climate and issues in our world today. To make another connection, I want to emphasize this quote is on a pin. A pin is something that people use to wear it for a purpose for everyone to see, so they can proudly embody whatever the pin is teaching. An aspect of the sociological imagination is that it's important to be knowledgeable before you speak. And don't speak on topics that you don't truly understand. With this pin, someone would not wear it if they themselves did not believe the message that it holds to be true or effectively tried to accomplish this in their own lives. In other words, people wear pins proudly and purposely. Here, you would wear this pin to show that you are either knowledgeable about the impact of one's history on one's life or that you're willing to learn, discover, and grow from it. That's a good damn entry right there. Okay, so last little thoughts on here. If you're struggling with picking a term, and I recommend you pick terms that you're comfortable with, meaning you understand the definition clearly, you kind of understand the deeper implications of them. If you're having a hard time once you pick a term or a couple of terms from a chapter to play around with, finding an artifact that works with it, then I ask you to try doing it in the reverse. What I mean is, rather than start with the terms first, start first with some objects. So take some random objects that you have lying around in your dwelling, in your purse, in your house, and just kind of lay them all out, okay? Look at them, think about them. What color is it? What words are on there? Where did I get this? What are all the different ways I can use it? How much value does it have to me? And I don't mean just monetary value. Where was it made? Who made it? Consider it in a deeper way than you've ever considered that item before. Like, for example, I don't normally think of scissors as a weapon, but they could most definitely be used that way. But they could also be used to cut things. They could be used to open things. They could be used to pry something loose. So they have multiple purposes. These are also blue. They're made of metal at the end and some type of plastic. So that is kind of interesting. I can look at these pens. This one's purple. This one says metal tip. I need glasses. Apparently, I cannot read what this says. Anyway, take a look at everything you have. See if there's a way you can connect it to one of the ideas or terms in your book. Some of us, it's not easy to start with a concept and connect it to an object. It's easier to work the other way around, and it's just a different learning style. It doesn't mean that you're doing the assignment incorrectly or there's something wrong with you. We're all just a little bit different. Here's the other thing that's cool about the scrapbook is there really is no incorrect connection between a term and an object. There's probably an infinite number of terms that we could connect to some type of object out there in the world. My last advice to you is if it's easier to not construct an actual physical book and then take pictures of it and upload it to turn it in, then I recommend making the alternative scrapbook, which is a PowerPoint scrapbook. So think of each PowerPoint slide as one entry. So your PowerPoint slide entry would have the same things. It would have chapter 1, the term, the item. Obviously, you'll be using a picture of an item, and then a paragraph connecting the two. Now, here's one of the caveats to the PowerPoint. I find when people don't use physical objects, they don't spend enough time describing the image that they're using in their PowerPoint and how it relates. You still need to clearly tell me how that very specific image, that political cartoon, that meme, that bumper sticker, that historical photograph, that news story, whatever it is, that picture of a bowl of apples, whatever it is, you need to be able to tell me in concrete, specific detail, this relates to this concept in all of these ways. I think that people assume the PowerPoint option is easier. I find that it's actually a little bit more challenging because it forces you to imagine something that is intangible to make it more tangible in order to find all the ways it's connected to the term. But you can do that. It just makes life easier for some of us who don't necessarily have access to objects or access to a book that we can use or are not comfortable uploading photos for assignments. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. They're worth the same amount. Just make sure you're making lots of links between each term and each object. The assignment asks you to have at least a 7 to 10 sentence paragraph per each entry. So keep that in mind. And I will give you a lot of feedback on the first one so that you can do even better on the second one, especially if you do, for some reason, have some type of point deduction. Okay, that's all I have for you on scrapbooks. And as always, I want to remind you that sociology is not just a theory. It's not just a concept. It's not even just a set of terms in your book. It's your life. It's a way of life. It's a way of understanding the world that can change you and all of us forever. So sociology is a beautiful thing. Bye, y'all. Have a great day.